Anne-Marie Ganes, and this is Pillars of Progress. Let's get straight to the headlines. It's happening in less than a week. Free travel on PTSC buses for school children and the elderly. Bonaire West gets a community center and using arts and culture to promote diversity. You might want to keep this date handy because it will make a world of difference to you, especially if you're 60 years or older or a student at a non-tertiary institution. It's that promise of free rides on buses belonging to the Public Transport Service Corporation, the PTSC. Let's join Sherilyn Lewis to tell us what you need to do to access this service if you fall into one of those two categories and when exactly it will be implemented.
The crash of the global economy and rising inflations are just two of the many factors that have put a strain on our purses. The average person would welcome any measure that will help them cut costs. It's perhaps the reason why parents and the elderly have something to celebrate with the introduction of free bus rides.
Enhancements of the public transport system in Trinidad and Tobago. One, whereby any school child wearing a uniform would be allowed to travel freely on the buses that operate in Trinidad and by June 1st, if not tomorrow. Secondly, lower the age from 65 to 60 where you could travel freely again on the bus. So this two measures would address two populations that utilize the services of PTSC in a substantial manner.
But how exactly will this apply?
What previously obtained for the students is that they had to obtain scholar tickets via the Ministry of Education through somewhat of an administrative process that was bureaucratic in nature. Now all you have to do is have your school uniform on and you get on the bus free of charge.
In the case of the elderly, the PTSC simply requires that you show your national ID or driver's permit to the bus driver to benefit from this service. It sounds pretty simple, but let's hear it from the people who stand to benefit from this new initiative.
Well, I find it is good because I have my pass. So I find it is okay for those that, the poor people and thing, and the children and thing, that could travel with their pass and everything. I find it is okay.
60 years up and up.
Yeah, you get to travel for free.
Well, I traveling for free. So it's very good.
I feel good about that because I'll be able to save a lot more money and stuff and do more things with money instead of depending on transportation.
These are the fares for some of the more popular routes on the PTSC service. From Port of Spain to Sangre Grande, the furthest point the bus goes to in the east, the cheaper fare, which is on the old stop, is $4. From Port of Spain to Chaguaramas, it's $2 one way, and from Port of Spain to San Fernando using the regular service, it's $6. That increases by $2 should you choose to use the deluxe service. The simple math is this. If you make the journey from San Fernando to Port of Spain every day, you spend an average $12 per day on the bus. Now you no longer have that expense. It's an average savings of $60 per week and just about $240 for the month. Money that can be used otherwise. I'm Sherilyn Lewis for Pillars of Progress.
Now, residents of this area have been deprived of a community center for some time now. Bonaire West has had a physical structure, but nothing was happening there because its doors remained closed. Today, it's not just a building. It's equipped with computers, and there are promises that it might also get the equipment needed to function as a gym. Curtis Williams reports.
The $5.5 million community center will be used for several things, including weddings and classes. But the minister says consideration is being given to equipping all community centers so they can also function as gyms.
And I take the opportunity to note that my ministry is considering a proposal to equip every modern community center with a commercial gym that will attract people from within the community to use their community centers more than ever.
The minister admits that over the last 2 decades, there have been significant changes in the way people view community and community centers. But he says there is still need for community cohesion and development. Minister Baksh says he also plans to ensure that all community centers are professionally managed.
I'm happy to announce that on my recommendations, Cabinet has given approval that every modern community center to be equipped with a small cadre of paid staff. To start, each one of these centers will have a manager and a secretary whose salaries will be paid by the Ministry of Community Development.
The plan is to equip all community centers with no fewer than 12 computers, with that number increasing through fundraising done by individual communities. He also congratulated those involved in the geriatric adolescent program, many of whom use community centers, and has promised to increase the stipends to caregivers.
I have therefore sought and recently obtained Cabinet's approval to effect the following changes in the GAP program. 1. To increase the stipend to givers from $1,800 to $2,500 per month. To increase the number of caregivers from 400 to 600, and to increase the administrative staff.
He says the Bonner West community is a model community with low levels of crime and strong community participation. The minister is also promising the residents to build a children's play park on the precincts of their center. Member of Parliament for the area, Minister in the Ministry of the People and Social Development, Lincoln Douglas, says the opening of the center was a reflection of government's thinking that people-centered development is the way forward for Trinidad and Tobago. Curtis Williams for Pillars of Progress.
And let's take a look at the work of the National Training Agency, the NTA. That body is set up to certify our nation's workforce. Their mandate is to train and develop citizens in several of the areas identified for development. This is expected to feed into government's efforts to diversify the economy away from oil and gas. As part of that plan, the NTA launched what's known as the Sector Advisory Committee. John Victor explains.
It's all about creating a workforce that is not only competent but internationally competitive. It is the mission of the National Training Agency through its many agencies such as the National Technical Vocational Registry and the Control Center, its various sector advisory committees, and its labor market surveys. Minister of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, Senator Fazil Karim, says that such training must not be supply but demand-driven, responding to what the labor market in Trinidad and Tobago demands.
Very often we talk about creativity and innovation and competitiveness, but we have to provide the enabling environment for that to happen. It will not happen when we speak very often and we repeat the words every day. It wouldn't happen like that. It has to happen because we must provide the way because of the will that we have. And so, one of the pillars of development in the Manifesto of the People's Partnership that is particularly important for our ministry is that we are attempting to develop and to create a diversified, knowledge-intensive economy through the accumulation of the native genius of our people.
Minister Karim notes that such an approach is necessary for diversification of the economy, but that Trinidad and Tobago is not unique in terms of how countries are now looking at diversification of their economies, citing the example of Saudi Arabia.
And the King Abdullah Economic City has as its underlying theme life after oil and gas. Life after oil and gas, so that they are preparing. And therefore, what we are saying in our context as well is that we have to prepare, and that's why we have said in the Manifesto of the People's Partnership, for a diversified, knowledge-intensive economy. Knowledge is power, and power will create wealth and sustainability. You see it in Singapore. You see it in Malaysia.
Creating this knowledge-based industry, however, cannot be the exclusive domain of the government. It is for this reason that the NTA has sought to foster partnerships with key stakeholder organizations, such as the Employers Consultative Association and the Energy Chamber.
Last year, our emphasis was based upon really analysing what the situation was and putting in place the system and putting in place the memorandum of understanding with the NTA, and specifically what we needed to do in order to have approved centres within companies, so the companies themselves then becomes a body which works on certifying their workforce. So we did that work last year, and we completed that stage of the project, was successfully completed last year. This year we're moving into a phase where we are now implementing the system in a small group, a pilot group of service companies and contractors. We're working at the moment with 9 service companies and contractors. They're some of the biggest service companies and contractors in the energy industry.
John Victor for Pillars of Progress.
Signed and sealed, the Caribbean Airlines Air Jamaica deal is finalized. Details coming up when Pillars of Progress returns.
Crime, this is crime. When my school is like a war zone. And me and my friend's life in jeopardy. By some little boy want to pull some rank on we. Or some girl who's selling she body. When students have no respect for each other or the teacher. And his drugs are selling to one another. When we school getting a bad name in the community. Or somebody thieving somebody pencil, book bag or lunch money. That is a crime. I living in it. But I not part of that. I ready for change. I'm making the call.
My life, my future.
My call.
Youth, if you have any information on crime at school, in your community, or anywhere else, call Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS, 800-8477. It's safe, anonymous, and confidential.
Come to our beaches. We're looking out for you.
Jenny?
Girl, how you going?
I am fine. Just the animal doing some shopping with my guilt-free money.
Guilt-free money?
Yes, Jenny, you know Board of Inland Revenue have a tax amnesty on now?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Tell me how that works.
It's easy. All you have to do is just pay all your outstanding taxes leading up to the year 2009, and all interest and penalties will be waived.
But wait, there must be a catch.
No, girl, it didn't have no catch. All you have to do is pay all your outstanding balances by May 31st of this year, and you're good to go.
That's sounding good. But wait, if I can't remember what years may be outstanding, how I will deal with
it? You just go down to Board of Inland Revenue and they'll assist you with everything.
Well, Gil, thanks for the info. Now I too can shop with some guilt-free money.
The Board of Inland Revenue advises that an amnesty is in effect from September 8th, 2010 to May 31st, 2011. Be wise. Take advantage of this opportunity. Inland Revenue Division, changing the way we interact with you.
Welcome back. This is Pillars of Progress. It's official. Caribbean Airlines has acquired Air Jamaica. The talks have been ongoing and different phases of the deal had been finalized up until now. But today, all remaining loose ends have been tied up. Both parties see it as the deepening of Caribbean relations. Caribbean Airlines has publicly stated that it sees value in acquiring the Jamaican airline. Its chairman is quoted as saying, Air Jamaica is envisioned as a tourist airline for the Caribbean. This acquisition also means that other routes will be reopened, offering a wider choice to travelers around the region. Sherilyn Lewis reports.
13 months in the making. It began on April 30th in Jamaica with talks between the two countries. Today, what's known as the shareholding agreement between Caribbean Airlines and Air Jamaica is completed.
We have agreed on the shareholders agreement between Caribbean Airlines and Air Jamaica. Essentially, what is at stake here is that Caribbean Airlines will now have legal access to all the routes that were being flown by Air Jamaica, giving it an opportunity to expand in the global arena that they had not had before. And secondly, that we will be able now to claim in Caribbean Airlines that we are the designated carrier, air carrier for Jamaica in the world at large.
Jamaica's Minister of Finance, Audley Shaw, sees it as more than an acquisition. He says the deal fulfills a unification vision for the Caribbean, even as it gives the two airlines a more competitive edge.
Fulfills a vision that has been held by government leaders both in Trinidad and in Jamaica, that with unification and with a merger, we can create a product that is larger, that therefore has the critical mass that is needed in order to guarantee medium and long-term profitability.
It was the Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who initiated these discussions. She says it's an indication of one Caribbean airline vision CAL has for the region.
Green light today, let us continue to partner in other areas, as you've indicated. Very interesting concept where we talk about economic integration. It will really be the single items that will make up the whole item of that integration. And so it's one at a time, one day at a time, as we continue to forge these links in partnership for the benefit of our people in each of the nations, but also for the greater benefit of the region, the CARICOM region. I know that Caribbean Airlines does have the vision for one Caribbean airline, and this is a step in that right direction. So thank you again.
The Jamaican Minister of Finance agrees with her, stating that the deal gives a true sense of economic integration with the Caribbean.
Support is critical for Jamaica. And of course, after so many years of Air Jamaica and the nostalgia and love that surrounds it, Jamaicans are happy that at least for now, CAL is keeping the Air Jamaica brand.
Both parties described today's signing as a historic one. The deal allows Air Jamaica to keep its brand, while CAL becomes the designated air carrier for Jamaica. Sherilyn Lewis for Pillars of Progress.
And the Attorney General, Anand Ramlogan, says 4 senior counsels have cleared the Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, of any wrongdoing in the issue of the award of the contract from National Petroleum, NP, to Gopal and Company, who are the Prime Minister's personal friends. He says they all agreed with him that there's no grounds for the complaint. The opposition alleges that the Prime Minister might have used her office to influence the award of the contract. But the Attorney General says the senior counsels found no grounds or basis for this.
It would certainly be unworkable and impractical if persons upon entering public life must also enter a cocoon and shut away from the normal intercourse of family and personal friendships unconnected with the performance of their official duties. I have also noted that none of the Prime Minister's responsibilities include the responsibility for NP or the energy sector. These are 2 bodies and 3 wholly owned state enterprises. There are 2 bodies and 3 wholly state-owned enterprises for which the Office of the Prime Minister is responsible. NPMC is not among them.
He says the crux of the matter is that the benefit that's being alleged must be connected to the performance of the Prime Minister's duties, and she didn't have to disclose her staying at the Gopals to the Integrity Commission.
The answer is no. The subject matter of the declaration is assets, income, and liabilities. Each of the words, income, assets, and liability, is specifically defined in the Act, unlike fee, gift, or personal benefit, which is not defined in the Act. I have already advised that personal benefit arising out of the use of the Gopal's residence is not property. It is an unenforceable privilege that does not fall within the definition of either assets, income, or liability. On the basis of mere friendship, it follows, therefore, that the Gopals have no legal interest in NP. And we're going on to consider what is the position of the friend or the company, and to see, well, what then is their position in law. On the basis of mere friendship, it follows, therefore, that the Gopals have no legal interest in NP, the Prime Minister has no legal interest in the Gopal's business or in NP, and she has duties in respect of NP, and she has no duties, sorry, in respect of NP as per her gazetted portfolio.
And we're taking an in-depth look at the Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technologies facility of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, UTT. That center is designed to train this country's new generation of farmers. There'll be heavy emphasis on the use of technology as the government continues its push to produce more food at a cheaper cost to citizens. To find out exactly how this plan will be implemented, Natalie Briggs gives us the details.
Food Production Minister Vasant Bharat says he is glad that agriculture has become a top agenda item in several countries around the world. He sees it as a reflection of the importance that food and food security has been given in recent years.
The issue of food security has attained significant proportions on all countries' agendas. Everywhere I go, from Indonesia to Europe, everywhere I go today, agriculture has been catapulted to the top of the priority list. And it is simply this. It's because for years people have spoken about food security, but we've never really taken them on. Because we've all said that there are a bunch of academics talking about the ozone layer and this and that, and this is going to happen. But now we're actually seeing, live and direct, that many nations are suffering as a direct result of not having enough food.
Minister Bharat says, taking these situations into account, it is critical that this country resuscitate its agricultural sector. He says our position as a net importer will make us very vulnerable to the actions of food importers.
Because of the significant flooding that Australia is currently experiencing, they are looking very seriously at curtailing their wheat exports. Russia, as we know, because of the droughts that they've had, have already stopped exporting wheat. India and Pakistan have stopped exporting rice and onions. And many other countries, because of the extreme in climate, have stopped exporting to people like us who are net importers.
This is why, as Food Production Minister, he is pushing for more young people to get involved in the farming industry and see it as a viable career option. He says the Food Production Ministry is doing its part to attract the nation's young by providing the support they need to grow in the field. He took the opportunity to announce a new initiative of his ministry just approved by Cabinet.
Based on a note that the ministry presented to Cabinet, for a young professional development and mentoring program in agriculture to be coordinated by the Ministry of Food Production, Land and Marine Affairs, where we will offer it's a pilot project, and the objective, of course, is to offer these young professionals a structured, focused, and very closely monitored opportunity in agriculture and related studies.
Minister Bharat says the mentoring program will pay a salary, not a stipend, of $4,500 and will take on 50 persons for training initially. Minister of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, Fazal Karim, continued on this theme, saying that the huge acreage at several secondary schools around the country was underutilized. The minister suggested that even C-aged children could be introduced to agriculture.
When you look at the SEA students, from Monday to Sunday, lessons. Lessons. That's the name of the game. And I'm saying, I was just discussing with some of my colleagues and saying, to what extent can we utilize the spare time of some of these SCA graduates, or even before they exit the school system in July? And I'm going to be discussing this with my colleague, Minister of Education, to expose them to the vocational sciences and the trades, agriculture being one of them.
The BAFT facility will house 4 of UTT's newest agricultural programs. These are degree programs in animal science and technology, biotechnology, crop science, technology, and food science and technology, as well as several other diploma programs. Natalie Briggs for Pillars of Progress.
The signature event will not happen before August, but the organizers are getting a head start for this year's Emancipation celebration. As Lindian Mars reports, the Ministry of Arts and Multiculturalism hopes this event will strengthen who we are as a people while fostering social cohesion.
In a cosmopolitan society such as this, at times it may be easy for some segments to feel left out. But the Minister of Arts and Multiculturalism is saying, not under his watch.
The fact that the word multiculturalism forms part of the name of the ministry should suggest to all that it is the strategic underpinning. The ministry, therefore, will continue to demonstrate respect for all our people, and we will use the arts and culture to both strengthen our national identity and to foster the spirit of unity in diversity.
He says there's a commitment to freedom of expression and social inclusion from all in the government he's a part of.
At the Ministry of the Arts and Multiculturalism, we are committed to recognizing and appreciating the cultural expressions of the diverse people that make up our country.
Lies are like his childhood while the man cassava, pounded just like his two front teeth, and shoved down his throat until its unsatisfying taste was believed to be savory.
This government fully believes that every human being is important, and we are committed to ensuring that everyone has an opportunity to participate in the development of this nation, regardless of race, religion, gender, age, geographical location, sector, or party affiliation.
This year's Emancipation celebration is kicked off by the hosting of a historic meeting of the Standing Committee of the Economic, Social and Cultural Council of the African Union, a meeting geared toward the deepening of relations between the African continent and its diaspora. But even as they eagerly look forward to Emancipation celebrations for 2011, head of the Emancipation Support Committee, Kafra Kamban, says emancipation celebrations mean nothing if people of African origin have not contributed to the development of themselves and humanity as a whole.
So when we talk about celebrating our African heritage, we are talking about it not just from the point of view of how long our foreparents have been on the earth. We are also talking about it from the point of view of the kind of contribution that we have made to all of civilization.
The United Nations General Assembly has proclaimed 2011 International Year for People of African Descent. Over the next 2 months, the Emancipation Support Committee will be hosting a number of activities culminating on Emancipation Day, August 1st, as they recognize and celebrate the end of chattel slavery. Lindian Mars for Pillars of Progress.
Well, this might be of interest to you. It's a Foreign Affairs Excellence in Journalism Award. This event is the brainchild of the Minister, Dr. Suredratan Rambachan. Now, you might think this stands to benefit the media only, but in today's world where an event that takes place on the other side of the globe affects us here, it's important that we're all in the know. The plan is to encourage more in-depth and informed pieces. The competition will be open to all media houses. And that's all we have time for. I'm Anne-Marie Ganes, inviting you to join me again as we continue our look at the government's work. Do remember this is streamed on news.gov.tt, where there are also past episodes available for viewing. And repeats of today's program are also shown every day on TV6 at 11:40 a.m., on CNC3 at 11:30 and at 1:02 on CNMG. This has been Pillars of Progress, a look at the work the government is doing as it implements the development plans for the nation. On behalf of all of us at the Government Information Services Limited, goodbye.